Ranger 8 BT. How to zero the ballistic turret. Hello and welcome to a new tutorial from Steiner. My name is Michael Gast, and in the following video I would like to explain how to set the calibration marks on the ballistic turret of the Ranger 8. In order to set the calibration marks on the Ranger 8 correctly, you need various materials. Firstly, the supplied Allen wrench. Here you can also use your own fine tools. It is advisable to use a calibrating gauge to measure the elevation of the sights, the ammunition you are using, and to measure the muzzle velocity. A light barrier or a magneto speed measuring device is recommended. Use what is available to you. In order to enter the data correctly into the Seiko Ballistics calculator, you will need several values. One is the muzzle velocity, which we will measure with the light barrier. And one value that will be requested is the sight elevation. What is the sight elevation? The sight elevation is ultimately the distance between the sight line and the barrel bore axis. How can I measure it? A very simple variation that you can actually always do at home is you feed the bolt out the back. Then you measure from the lower edge to the upper edge of the breech. You take the value from the lower edge to the upper edge of the eyepiece, and you measure the distance between the upper edge of the eyepiece and the lower edge of the breech. Now divide the value for the height of the breech by 2 and the value for the height of the eyepiece by 2 and subtract that from the total height, and thus you get the sight elevation, which you can then enter into the Seiko Ballistics calculator. To get the values for setting the calibration marks on the ballistic turret of the Ranger 8, we use the Seiko Ballistics calculator, and into that we enter the values we have determined. I have already pre-saved the profile of the gun. Here we see the Seiko 85 .308 caliber. In our case, the race head in 10.9 grams. Our measured muzzle velocity was 810 meters per second, and the measured sight elevation was 5 centimeters with a barrel length of 50 centimeters. Now in the main menu we enter the distance we are shooting at and then get a table with the values for the distances 200, 300 and 400 meters, which we then use to set the calibration marks. You write down the values and can then adjust the calibration marks for you at your leisure. As you have just seen, the Seiko Ballistics calculator has given us some values that we now want to calibrate at the ballistics tower. In the first step, we take the MIL scale. The rifle is calibrated to 100 meters spot and set the MIL scale with the 0 calibration mark together with a calibration mark on the tube of the scope. To do this, put the MIL scale over the ballistics turret. The second value the ballistics calculator gave us was for 200 meters. That was 9 clicks. I now set this 9 clicks on the ballistic turret and place the calibration mark for 200 meters at exactly this position. The next value we calculated was the value for 300 meters. That was a total of 19 clicks. We have already made 9 clicks, so we have to add another 10 clicks. At this point, we set the calibration mark with the inscription 3 for 300 meters. And the last value we pulled was the value for 400 meters, a total of 30 clicks. We have already made 19, that is, we have to add another 11 clicks. And at this point, we have set the calibration mark for 400 meters. To complete the whole thing now, we need to assemble the ballistics tower in reverse order. To do this, put on the twist protection and screw on the cover of the ballistic turret. Now you can just screw your ballistics turret back to 0 mode and be sure that you have now adjusted the gun to 100 meters spot. Now, what do we get out of doing this? Basically, we have an individualized bullet drop compensator, in Germany called ASV, using the calibration marks for 200, 300 and 400 meters. I can quickly retrieve this setting with repeated accuracy. If I want to shoot at the intermediate distances, I can use the MIL scale, located at the very bottom of the ballistic turret, to adjust the values that the Seiko Ballistic calculator gives me. What you must never forget, if you are changing the distance you're shooting at, please also adjust the parallax. Which product works great in combination with the Ranger 8? The Ranger LRF binoculars. With these, you can take the distance to the meter and then adjust it on the ballistic turret.